Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to my channel if you're new. So excited to have you. And if you're old, so happy you're still here. I want to talk about some pretty heavy content today, but I also don't want to make it too heavy. Like always, I'm going to make jokes. This is just the standard for me. You're like, why is she so happy? I'm not. I am, but I'm not. I want to talk about the Epstein files and Mormonism and how I think that they are connected, along with how I think we can help as a society. So it's going to be, I don't know how long this is going to be. It's just going to be what it's going to be. I'm trying to film this before I run out of daylight, and my audio won't sync. So hopefully I can get that fixed in the studio when I'm editing. And if not, then I'm sorry. Put the phone down and don't look at my face and just listen to my voice if it bugs you. Okay, so first of all, I don't know if everybody saw the Epstein files that dropped. They just released 3 million documents, just barely. And I know not all of the documents are verifiable. I know they have to put out a lot of things that they just got as tips and not necessarily like, oh, this is actual evidence. I think that the only things they're really considering evidence right now are the emails, the flight logs, bank statements, things that are like really solid pieces of evidence and verifiable, not just like tips that they've received, which is tricky because a lot of the tips that they received are some of the things that I feel like correlated to what I think is going on the most. I also think they redacted a ton of stuff, right? Like they redacted a lot of stuff that I think that they probably don't want out there, and then they left in a lot of stuff that like really hosed and violated the survivors that have come forward and talked about Epstein. Anyway, the whole thing is just a mess, and it's unfair, and it's really, really sad. But I don't think that this is where it's going to end. I know that Donald Trump came out and said that we should just move on, that now that they're released, we should just ignore it and we can get past it. And I know a couple of other people, like congressmen, have come out and said similar things.
It's really time for the country to get onto something else, really. Now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
And I just don't think that's okay. I don't think that's okay. I think that I compute, I understand. I can really fathom a lot of things, okay? Like, I have a gift of being able to understand complex issues and being able to regurgitate them in a way that's easy for people to compute. That is one of my strong suits. When I woke up this morning, I woke up and into a reality where I was just staring at my wall, and I was feeling, it's really hard for me to feel this way, but I was feeling completely incapacitated to compute the idea that they're going to release these 3 million files and all of the other things that have come out, and that we are expected to just move on. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean we're expected to just move on? It really broke my brain. It was really something that I literally had to take the day off work. I had to go on a hike. I had to go pull cards on this because I was just like, what do you mean? And I think too, for myself, I have a lot of parts. Okay. So when you go through trauma-based mind control, which is what I am a survivor of, and many other people are survivors of, from child trafficking and things like this, you have different fragments of yourself. And as you do healing work, as you get more comfortable with this reality, they come out and they start talking to you. And I have parts that I am actively having to say, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to do this, okay? But they want to go full Luigi Mangione. And I'm like, okay, just take a deep breath. I understand. I'm like, is this the beginning? No, this wouldn't be the beginning, but it would be the turning point for my anti-hero journey. I don't give a fuck about being the good guy turning point. I like the idea that I have to still live in a reality where this is just accepted. But I think too, one thing that's helped me a lot, and I'll get into this more in the episode, is that we aren't the only ones that have experienced, us survivors aren't the only ones that have experienced loads of injustice blatantly, flagrantly, right in our faces, and had to move on. I think about so many marginalized communities that have been taken advantage of and been pummeled over and exploited and expected to just remain grateful. I mean, you can look at Native American reservations. Like, what the heck did we do to the Native Americans? Like, that is so sad. And the ways that we just came in, took their land, and basically did a genocide. Not basically, it was almost a full genocide for the Native Americans. And Um, Same thing with black people. I mean, I'm having to find coursework. The only coursework that's helping me move forward with this is coursework from indigenous and marginalized people of color communities, because these are the people that have been doing this work from the very beginning, because they have had their communities actively pillaged and exploited from the beginning, and then having people just walk all over them and act like they didn't do any of it. So anyway, I am really having to do a lot of I've always been doing a lot of deconstructing in myself around my own privileges and just the awareness that I have that I'm here and some of you like, and I'm not. So here's the issue, is that the issue lies within us. The issue is inside of us. And yes, the issue is external to us. Yes, the issue is that there's a huge elite amount of cabal people that are doing these ceremonies, these rituals, these sacrifices, child sex trafficking, and hoping that we will just look away. That is the goal, because they have ingrained in us desensitization. They have ingrained in us disassociation. We have a million numbing techniques now. I mean, so many things that we can just go and forget that this is happening. We can scroll on our phones for hours. We can drink. We can smoke copious amounts of weed. We can do all of these different things. And I've been guilty of all of those things. I literally just at the beginning of this year decided to go sober. I've used marijuana to medicate for literally the last 10 years pretty frequently. I would say a daily user. And I think that's valid when you're going through unrepressed memories. Like, part of the programming that I've gone through is, and I think a lot of survivors have, is you have suicidal programming. And what that is like I said, you have different splits in your personality. And when those splits come out, sometimes they're trained to kill you. Sometimes they are trained to take your life. And so I talked about this on the Substack. I don't do this anymore. Thank God. I've done enough work to where when I have a memory come through, I can handle it with love and compassion, and I can sit down and I can unrepress it, and I can do what I need to do to take care of myself after that. But in the beginning, I would unrepress memory, and while I was unrepressing the memory, there would be parts of me that were actively trying to unalive me, try to get me to die, so I wouldn't remember the memory. And so you have all of these different things that are happening inside of you at the same time as you're unrepressing the memory in the beginning, depending on how you do it. I've met survivors that have been able to find ways to get around that in a lot of really beautiful healing modalities and techniques. I didn't know what was happening to me when it was happening to me, so I didn't really understand how to move through it in the beginning, and it was very damaging. So yeah, sometimes after I would unrepress memory, I would need some marijuana to keep myself centered and from killing myself. So anyway, I have chronically used that for the last 10 years, and I just decided to go sober at the beginning of this year. I'm a better person. I'm a more present person. I'm a different person. I think I've been 30 days sober now, and I might be 30 days older, but I feel a lot more wiser. Like, the moment that I really was like, okay, I don't feel like I need these crutches to be able to handle the trauma that I have inside of myself. I've really had a pretty big transformation, and I know that doesn't seem like it's been enough time for that to be the case, but it's been the case. I was ready. My body was like primed and ready for me to step fully into myself and my authenticity without needing to numb out who I am. And so I've been really grateful for that, but it's been really hard. And so we have all of these different devices that we can use to keep these things suppressed inside of ourselves, and they're very normalized. On top of us, we are programmed. We have been programmed by this cabal as like an example. I talked a little bit about this I've gone on We Are the People 3 times now. I've shared them. If you go to my like posts on my YouTube, you can see the episodes that I've been in. I've like reshared them. And in the last one I was just in, I talk about how our media has helped program us in a lot of different ways, down to the point where it's like we ourselves, we can talk about like the fetishization of youth. That's always so hard for me to say. But in the same way that like we are part of society is a part of us, and we cannot split this. Okay, I'm going to go back to this over and over and over again about how split we are. My brain fragmented, our society fragmented. It is a tactic of the elites, of the control that they use to divide and conquer, to split us. So with that being said, we perpetuate the culture that they have created. For example, this is just like a really easy access point, like the way that we perpetuate the fetishization of youth and pedophilia culture within our beauty standards. Why don't we like body hair? Why is that so normalized? The only bodies that don't have body hair are prepubescent ones. Prepubescent ones. I've stopped shaving my legs entirely and my armpits, because I'm like, I don't want to perpetuate this culture. And I like, same thing with Botox, same thing with fillers, same thing with like the pornography that we consume, the what we find attractive, this wanting to not look old, wanting to not age, this freaky like scare tactic of wrinkles and how women stop getting jobs in Hollywood as soon as they start aging. I have so much respect for women in Hollywood that have refused to do really intense cosmetic surgeries. I mean, like, Kris Jenner shouldn't look the way she looks. That's unnatural. It's weird. Sorry to call you out, Kris Jenner, but like, not that you're ever going to see this. But it's weird. It's dystopian. And the way that men won't date women that aren't younger, the way that they want women that are younger, that it's a status symbol. Like, I don't want a partner that has not deconstructed that inside of themselves. Here's the thing is we have this idea, this image of who we are. We think, okay, well, there's no way that I am perpetuating pedophilia culture. Like, I'm so against pedophiles. I'm so against touching children. And we can say, well, I would never do that, but that doesn't mean that we aren't inherently perpetuating things in society that are enabling that to happen. In the same way that it's like, I was raised as a white woman in Utah. I am inherently racist. Sorry, I have had to unlearn racism. Does that mean that I was conscious that I was racist? No. Does that mean I was conscious that I was supporting pedophilia beauty standards? No. None of these things are conscious. And that's so hard for our egos to handle because we think like, I am a good person. You can be a good person and still have unconscious biases inside of you that have been put in there by society. In the same way that maybe I feel uncomfortable if I went on a hike today and there was a man and he wasn't following me. I know he wasn't following me, but there was a million parking spots in the parking lot. I get out, he immediately, car comes, parks right by me. He keeps trying to make conversation with me. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna like assume like intention from this man. I don't think I'm in danger. But like in the same way that makes me feel uncomfortable because I have so much trauma with men. I have to acknowledge that if I walk into a room with a black person, my initial appearance, my whiteness can make them feel uncomfortable because they have had probably a lot or some racist experiences where they were treated badly or at risk because of somebody else's skin color. So it's the awareness. It's the awareness that we are holding unconscious societal biases inside of us. And we don't want to accept that. We want to push that away and be like, no, I'm a good person. I'm a good person. That's not who I am. And that doesn't mean that you're not a good person. It just means that we are a part of the society that's been perpetuated and set up for us. And that's really, I mean, that's a lot to like kind of like try to explain and deconstruct in one episode. And I'm sure I'll like talk more about that at another point. But it's something that really plays to what's going on right now. The whole idea that Donald Trump can get out there and say that he thinks that none of these things are really even going to be, none of these people are going to be held accountable and we're not going to do anything else about it besides release these files. He's counting on our societal programming, our societal grooming of looking the other way to do that. In the same way that, like, if you think about these like societal standards, these societal traumas that we have inside of ourselves that we carry in our collective, in our psyche, they're not separate from you. They're not separate from you. Yes, we need to hold these people accountable. Yes, we need to bring down this cabal. But I think that the only way that we can really do that is to create a societal shift. We need to change ourselves to change our society. And that's really, really, really hard for people to sit with because we feel like we're the good guys in all of this. We feel like we're justified. And that's the thing, is it's unconscious. If you knew about it, you wouldn't be doing it. If you knew you were racist, you wouldn't be racist, right? Like, once you see it, you can do something about it, but it's not until you can allow your ego to fall on the sword to say, you know what, I'm like actually going to sit here and try to unravel the society that I've been raised in and really like let that sink in so I can be aware when I do have racism come up in me, when I do have pedophilic tendencies come up in me, when I do have all of these different woundings. And, you know, you can also get into like ancestral stuff. We carry ancestral DNA. We carry these pain bodies, these things down from different lineages, and we have them inherently in us, whether it's through survival, whether it's through, you know, domination. We have all of these things. And I think a lot of people I was having this conversation with one of my coworkers the other day, and he was like, well, yeah, it's tribal. Like, it is tribal. Like, back, you know, 1,000 years ago, this was how people survived. It was just how it was. It wasn't that like they were inherently racist. It's because they're trying to protect their tribe. And I've heard people say things like that. I've also heard people say, well, yeah, like pedophilia is natural, or liking younger women is natural for men because it indicates that women have higher rates of fertility and when men are designed to procreate and seed the earth. I've heard these things. And while that might be true, while we might have biological like inclinations inside of us, we are at a point in our society where we need to evolve. We are being asked to evolve, and evolution takes place always. It's always taken place. We wouldn't have anything we have without evolution. And that's the thing. That's the kicker in all of this, is that we can have the biological inclinations, we can have the biology that we can justify, and we can also say it's time to grow out of these things. Like, doesn't anxiety originate from like tribalism, when like would be hunting, and if there was a tiger behind you, it was like you needed to have that awareness? We're not hunting for our food anymore. In a day and age where we are surrounded with AI, with very advanced technologies, with nuclear weapons, with the modern day warfare, I mean, we have to evolve or we will kill ourselves and we will kill each other. That is where we are at in this point of humanity. When I woke up, I went through a really big spiritual awakening in 2020, and I'm happy to get into that in another episode. But when I woke up, the very first thing that they started talking to me about was that there is going to be a collapse. I'm not trying to fearmonger you. I'm being honest. Our society is going to have some sort of collapse. It is unavoidable. It is where we are going. And it is because of what's happening right now. And it is because we are fighting our biology with evolution. And we can sit there and justify our biology all we want. But if we lean into that and we do not go to a place of higher thinking, and we do not evolve into a place of leaning on like what is actually going on instead of what we want to be going on, what we hope is going on, what our ego thinks is going on, we will kill ourselves. Our society, it will be doomed. And I say we're going to go through a collapse, and it freaks people out, obviously. Like, I get it. But this is what I believe. Also, I want to tell you that you watching this right now, you are exactly where you are supposed to be. I think when I talk to people about this, they feel like they're behind the 8 ball, or they haven't done enough, or they haven't deconstructed themselves enough, or they haven't done enough work. Whatever is coming up for you right now is exactly what is supposed to be coming up for you. Whether you are just now starting to get to the bottom of your childhood trauma, whether you are now just starting to deal with your repressed memories, whether you are now just starting to deal with your own biases, whether you are now just starting to look at what's really happening in the government with the Epstein files, with child trafficking, or institutionalized racism, or all of these different things, wherever you're at is exactly where you're supposed to be at. And everybody is going to have a different role to play in what's to come. We are in a revolution. Like, that's what it is. We've been in a revolution, I think, since probably Donald Trump started campaigning for office in 2016. I am not a fan of Donald Trump. Go figure. I wonder why. There's a million things. I wasn't a fan of him even before I knew about Epstein, because I feel like he represents a lot of things that have wounded me. Okay. And I don't want people that are Trump supporters to feel judged. Everybody's going to be at where they're at until they move. And I'm not saying that anyone needs to move from where they're at. I'm simply asking you to start where you're standing and to listen to what your heart is telling you, and to be willing to put your ego down to see the things that are really going on. One thing that's really interesting, as I've met other survivors, I've met several other Epstein survivors, and a lot of Epstein survivors went through ritual abuse as well. I don't know how many of them have had their stories redacted in the Epstein files. There's whole survivor accounts that have, 4 out of 7 pages blacked out. I'm like, are they talking about ritual abuse in that? There's also the video or the email where Jeffrey Epstein said, left the torture video. You want to know what came into my head when I read that? Was it mine? Was he watching? Were they exchanging child sex abuse material between perhaps what my abusers within the Mormon cabal and the Mormon church were doing to Jeffrey Epstein and his sick ilk of people? Were they exchanging material? Probably. And I think that there's a lot of overlap. There's no way that like they're doing ritual abuse and the LDS church is doing ritual abuse. When I say the LDS church, I understand. I'm not saying all Mormons. I'm not saying, but there's the high elite people, the cabal inside of the LDS church, is connected to Jeffrey Epstein. And I've felt this, I've seen this, because the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein have stories that are so similar to mine. And when I went on We Are the People, I shared how I had a memory at the Utah State Capitol of a child being sacrificed, several of them. And another, actually, you should go if you want to, the most recent survivor story. She shares, Jessica, I believe is her name. She shares she also has a memory at the Utah State Capitol, and she was raised in the same city that I was. So anyway, lots of dovetailing there, but I'm not the only one, definitely not the only one. And I remember being at this party. So if you want to skip this, this is a traumatic story. I remember being at a party, one of the parties that I was at, and this was an elite party. This was full of very prominent, I don't want to say names, okay? And the other thing, I'm not going to say names, but this is full of very prominent Utah public figures, government officials that are still around and are still up there, that went on to be national political figures. And it was basically like this elite party. There's a buffet, people are drinking, and there are art exhibits. There's paintings on the wall, there's sculptures, and some of the art exhibits were children being tortured. I was sitting on a bar stool, no back. It was just a circle bar stool with 4 pegs, and I was hooked up to a machine being electrocuted. And I hate this. I hate sharing these things. I hate remembering them. It's just disgusting, but this is the reality of what they're doing to children. This is real. This actually happened to me. Talked to other people that have talked about things like this. There were several other children that were being electrocuted as well, and there were some children that were being tortured in other forms. And it was as if people were walking by looking at the art, and the children being tortured were part of it. And while I was being electrocuted, I can't fall off the chair. It's part of the thing, part of the art. If I fell off the chair, you would be reprimanded. Something horrible would happen to you. And I was just sitting on there. I was trying to hold on to the bottom of the chair, and I was just screaming for help. I would look at every single person that walked by, and I would look at them, and I would scream for help. I would say, please help me. Please help me. No one helped me, obviously. They would just look at me as if they were in an amazement of looking at a beautiful painting, of looking at some sort of art that inspired them. In the same way that those people disassociated from what was happening to me, or enjoyed it, or whatever it was, that's what we also do as a society. I am a survivor. I am telling you these things are happening. Epstein survivors have been saying these names that have been put into the Epstein files and now given for 10, 15 years. And people kept saying there's not enough evidence, there's not enough evidence. What is it going to take? What is it going to take for you to see these kids that are screaming, please help me, and for you to actually help them? Not you specifically. You watching this, thanks for watching this. I know there are people out here that are diving into the dark. This is it's so layered. It's so wrapped. But the wounded parts of me look at society, and I'm terrified that we will just collectively disassociate from what's happening. That we will collectively look at the kids that are screaming, please help me, and keep walking, as if there's some sort of just entertainment art exhibit. I have another memory that came up, and I remembered this memory way before. In the Epstein files, there was a picture released of a dentist chair, and I think it was on Epstein Island. And behind the dentist chair, there are masks full of different world leaders and influential people. When I saw this picture, I had 4 or 5 parts that came out, and they just started crying. It was just like such a deep despair and such a deep grief. And they said, it's a reckoning of me realizing that this did not just happen to me. This did not just happen to hundreds, if not thousands of people in Utah. This did not just happen in Hollywood. This has been happening on such a large scale. This level of sadistic mind control, fracturing of a children's brain. Some of the earliest memories that I had, the very first times that they started fracturing my brain, they would take us into this room, and inside of the room, there was a dentist's chair. It was a reclining dentist chair, and they would take needles and they would stick needles in my gums. They would stick needles in different areas of my body. Uh, Part of the torture was having to watch other kids sit in the dentist chair. I have a memory of a little boy that I knew very, very well. He's still around. I have not talked to him. I don't know if he remembers any of this. I remember his father, but he was in the group too. He was sacrificed in the group too. And I had to watch him go through the dentist chair. The other thing that they would always do is like they did a lot with my mouth. They did a lot of mouth torture. And a lot of this was to cause such severe pain that you disassociate, you can cause fragments, things like that. So when I saw this dentist chair, I knew exactly what they were doing with this dentist chair. And it was just, it's so horrible. And also the idea that there were different masks for different world leaders. It makes me wonder, like, would they put on a different mask to create a different fragment for this child to be able to operate when this world leader was around? A different personality, whether it was, I have personalities that were dedicated to be sex slaves. I have parts that were trained on how to give and do sacrifices, how to kill kids and animals symbolically and ritualistically. I have parts that know how to do really crazy psychic things. Part of my grooming, my programming was that I think we all have some level of psychic ability, but I have psychic abilities. Guess what? I've offered psychic readings for the last 6 years. I can communicate with different beings, deities, ancestors, whatever you want to call it. And this has been a big part of my spiritual journey. But this was also something that they saw in me, and they would do fractures so I could do different things for the group. I know another man that was a summoner. His job was to summon different energies and deities when they were doing rituals and sacrifices and things like that. I know another girl who was also used for her psychic abilities. There are several different reasons why people would use somebody in the group. And depending on your abilities and your bloodline is going to depend on where you're going to go. And they do different levels of torture, different types of torture for your different role. I know women that were breeders. Their whole entire purpose was to provide children for the group. We talk about handlers, handlers are a more common one, I guess. I haven't specifically talked about handlers on this podcast, but there are men that were groomed to be handlers, which are meant to handle the merchandise on the outside. Excuse me, a lot of people end up in the group, if you don't remember, marrying their handlers. And I know women that know they're married to their handlers, and the men know they were handlers. And it's just they're like, we have this many kids together. We've lived a life together. Like, I love him. We're just going to work through this. To each their own. Like, I don't think that warrants, like, to each their own. But this is like a really horrific nightmare to live in. This is real. I'm not crazy. I am a canary in a coal mine sounding the alarm in the same way that so many other people have for so long. You know, we can talk about all of these different people like Kathy O'Brien, everyone that's gone on We Are the People Utah to share their stories of ritual abuse. We could talk about Max Spears, who came out against, I think it was Project Monarch. His stuff is amazing. He got killed for it. I mean, a lot of them get killed for it. A lot of them lose their lives to speaking about these things that are happening. Trying not to disassociate right now. Trying to come back to my body. I think We Are the People did an episode on someone called the Punisher, which is the person that's meant to like be outside of the group. That they have just so many different roles. You can deep dive all of these different things. There's high priests. I was groomed to be a high priestess. I know other women that were groomed to be high priestesses. And the only way for me to be fully aware of what's happened to me is for me to be conscious that I have shadows that I don't know I have. Do you know how hard it is for me to sit here? Like when people are like, are you a high priestess? Not consciously. Like, what? Okay, hey, what is a high priestess? You Google high priestess and it's like a female leader in a spiritual community. And that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years. I have never consciously, willingly, consensually sacrificed an animal. I've never consciously, willingly, consensually sacrificed a human. Never in my own personal private practice that I do has it ever looked like that? Has it ever been quote unquote satanic or like dark. I practice live and let live. I do not inflict my beliefs or my power or my work on other people's free will. I would never even do like a love spell, if that even is something. Like, I know some witches, when I say witches, like some people do that, but that's no different than like a prayer is a spell. When I say I'm a witch, it's like what I'm doing is taking a bath on the full moon and I'm talking to the water to release any patterns that are no longer serving me and to help me see things in my unconscious that are harming me or maybe harming others. My work, the spell work, is me trying to get to the root of my subconscious and my things that I am unaware of, so I do not perpetuate these things anymore. I will light candles. I will hold the candle in one hand and I will put in the negative energy of, let's say, like my father wounds. Like this, like if I want to cut a cord between me and my dad, I will hold it. I will think of my dad. I will think of all the good times. I will think of all the bad times. I will think of all of the memories of his abuse. Maybe I'll take like a bobby pin and I'll write his name in it. And then I'll get a white candle and I'll hold it and I'll give myself love and compassion and, allowing it to feel what it needs to feel, and I'll light them and I'll sit there and I'll watch and I'll feel everything I need to feel while it comes up and let it burn away. I use the elements to transmute my pain. I use fire, water, air, and earth and ether. That's what I work with. I don't work with anything satanic, anything demonic. I think I just have such a different idea of what all of this is than like a stereotypical Christian, because I've done so much deconstruction work around these things that I'm not scared. What I am scared of is my unconscious. What I am scared of is other people's unconscious. If somebody cannot sit there and say that they also perpetuate things unknowingly and that they need to be humble to those things and let their ego go in those moments when people bring things to them saying, hey, you hurt me, you did this. It doesn't matter if you think you did it. If you hurt somebody, you hurt somebody. And I know I have been somebody that has perpetuated cycles of abuse within relationship, narcissistic abuse, manipulation, because I was raised by a narcissist. My dad was a horrible narcissist. So of course that's what I thought love was. The amount of unlearning I've had to do from the levels of abuse I have had to experience have been really painful for me to admit. But that doesn't make it any less okay that I did that. It's an uncomfortable work. It's an uncomfortable work. But it's important, and if we don't do this work, they will control us with our unconscious shadows, and that's what they are doing. Our triggers, our trauma are like collars around our necks, and they have the leash. And when they want us to look somewhere, they'll pull this leash. When they want us to look somewhere else, they'll pull that leash. And that is what black magic is when you use fear and shame to control people. So anytime you are working on yourself and you feel fear or shame, like, oh my gosh, am I racist? Oh my gosh, have I unknowingly been perpetuating pedophilia culture? Compassion and unconditional love. Compassion and unconditional love. We bring it back to compassion and unconditional love of, I didn't know I was doing this. And now that I know I was doing this, I will stop doing it. Fear and shame. Fear and shame, fear and shame, fear and shame. If you feel that you are being controlled, that is not who you are. That's been put in you. And when we feel fear and shame, oftentimes we want to get mad. We want to disagree. We want to act like wounded animals and bite back at whoever's saying that we did this. Even if you didn't do that, one of my practices that has been so hard to do, even if I think somebody's projecting onto me, I will still take it. I will still take it and I will sit with it and I will analyze it. And maybe it's not true, but maybe there is a level of truth there too. And that's hard work to do. That's shadow work. That's ego work. That's letting yourself burn away who you thought you were. And there's a million different tools and things that we can do to help with that. But I think that wherever you're at the work, in this work, whatever it is exactly where you should be. And everybody's going to have a different opinion on what way to go. There are going to be some people that feel like they need to go to protests. There are going to be some people that criticize people that protest and say that you need to work on regulating your nervous system and that will help the collective. There are going to be some people that say you need to drop entirely out of society and go and live on a piece of land and return back to the earth. There are going to be people that say we need to have a violent revolution. There are going to be people that say we need to have a non-violent revolution. There are going to be Luigi Mangionis, and there will always still be Donald Trumps. These people reflect back unconscious pieces of ourselves to us. And we can use this to look inward to see, where am I perpetuating this inside of myself? Because if this lives within society, it lives within me, and we cannot separate it. We so badly want to separate it. It's like we call for capital punishment against people that are doing these things. And I believe in reincarnation. If we do not heal these routes in society that people fall down, whether it's through being abused and becoming an abuser, whether it's misunderstanding, whether it's being outcasted from society and resorting to these things, there will be always people that come back and go back down these paths. We have to heal these paths. We have to create different outlets for people. There are going to be people that call for advocacy and healing for perpetrators, and that's needed. There are going to be people that call for advocacy and healing for survivors, and that's also valid. We need to come together as a society, and you're gonna want to criticize other people that are doing different things than you, because I think it triggers us. Like, oh, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place? Follow your heart. Follow your highest excitement. Follow your deepest truth, and that will guide you to where you are supposed to be in this grand scheme of awakening and collective collapse that we are going through. It could be maybe your role is to sit here and bring people to Jesus, calling Christianity. It could be to tell people that they need to go down a different path than Christianity. They need to leave religion, because religion is a form of control. It could be that people find healing in religion. There are going to be a million different things that people are going to be called to do. But if you are doing it out of the most correct, true place inside of yourselves, if you are not operating from places of fear and shame, of if I don't do this, I'm going to go to hell, fear of hell, fear of being rejected, fear of losing your tribe, fear of all of these different things, do what you need to do. Do not be scared to diverge from the path that you've been on for a very long time. Or maybe that you just got on and you decided it wasn't for you, and so you need to get off of it. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm simply telling you that you need to do what you know you need to do. I think so many people invalidate themselves and think that we don't have power. We have so much power. We have so much power. You are a part of something that is so much bigger, a big, huge moment that is happening right now on Earth. And you have a chance right now to lean in wherever you're at, to help it, to help yourself, and to help the Earth. And I'm not going to tell you how you need to do that, but I'm telling you that you need to do something about it. And you need to listen to what your soul is saying. And you need to find moments of quiet and moments of stillness and come face to face with whatever is being presented to you. Whether that's your own shadows, whether that's your trauma, whether it's abuse you've been running from, whether it's things you've been perpetuating that you don't want to look at. Or maybe it's you even just dealing with what's happening in society right now. Maybe it's you deciding to buy a piece of land and go do a homestead. There's so many different things that we're here to do, and all of them are valid, and all of them are a part of the massive collective awakening that is happening right now. I hope that made sense. If I triggered you, I'm sorry. I know that what I said was kind of hard. I know that maybe some people feel called out. I know some people aren't going to understand what I'm saying, and that's okay. All I ask is that you continue to lean into yourself, lean into your work, and lean into unconditional love and compassion. Use your love, use your compassion, spread. The only way that we can bring light to the darkness is to bring light to our own darkness. Allow yourself to look at where you're going wrong. Don't try to be right all the time. Allow yourself to be wrong. Let your ego fall on the sword and take that moment to really see how you can be a better person. And it's hard work. It's hard work, but that's the only way that we are going to be able to make a societal shift. So if we make this societal shift, we will no longer allow this cabal, this societal cabal, to control us, and they will not be able to get away with all of these things, because they have groomed us to be docile, because they have groomed us to just roll over and think that we have no power. This content, I have tried to make several videos on TikTok. I've tried to make several other videos. They get taken down. They get removed because of what I'm saying. So if you could like this, if you could share this, if you could comment on this, and if you could subscribe, you could really help me. It's crazy out here what's happening. It is. We are under attack. Our freedom of speech is under attack. Our freedom of choice is under attack. We are being casted on with black magic every day. Whatever you want to call black magic, whether it's fear mongering or actual black magic, people doing rituals, sending negative energy to the collective, or it could be just people throwing up their hands saying that they don't have any power. We are constantly in this and in this energy, and I ask that you may remove yourself to figure out what you need to do to help better this. And thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for caring about me and for caring about survivors. Anyway, I love you. Even if I don't know you, I love you. I would love to hear what you have to say. Drop your comments, thoughts, opinions. And it's really interesting when you present things to a consumerist society, because the immediate thing is, how does this make me feel? So I know that some of you might have some words for me. That's okay. There's a lot of people that I don't respond to, and I'm not doing that intentionally. I see your comments, but sometimes the layers of me wanting to reply and how I actually want to reply are so long that I'm like, this is too much for me to try to break down in one comment. So I see you guys. I appreciate you guys. I care about your support. In the words of one of my favorite bands right now, Headache, knock knock, who's there? Thanks for listening. I hope you guys have a good day. I love you. And I'll see you on the next one.